Hello, family members. Hope you're having a good day today. Today, I'm doing something a little different, and I hope you'll bear with me a bit. But I saw that Jack Smith's legal filing on the Jan 6 case, basically laying out all of the evidence he has that Donald Trump, fomented a coup and should be held legally accountable. It dropped. He filed it a few days ago, but it's been released in a redacted form. And I was trying to go through it and read it, and all the redacted names were like driving me crazy. Like, I just did not like having to read it and not know who this person was or that person was. So I decided I'd go through and identify whoever I could. I started out with tweets and quotes that I could look up online and find the exact tweet and exact quote and either see who said it or who they were talking about and use that to identify who the redacted name belongs to. Or in certain places in the text, it'll say like RNC chairwoman, and then okay, yeah, they were talking about Ronna McDaniel. That's who the RNC chairman woman was at the time, So I do have a few kind of speculations that I can kind of toss in. I'm not going to focus on that too much. The other thing about it is it's a little bit messy the way that the people are written about. A higher number doesn't necessarily mean that the person is less important. It just means that they were mentioned later in the document. And conversely, a lower number doesn't mean that a person is particularly significant. It just means that their name came up earlier within the document. I do want to underline that while some of these people are alleged co-conspirators, um, just being included in the document does not mean that a person did anything wrong, either criminally, morally, whatever. So, all crimes are alleged, and don't necessarily take that these people's names being in this document means in any way that they're being alleged of crimes, unless I say so. Okay, so the first three are really easy. First one is Rudy Giuliani. He was actually the first one I very positively identified because he's all over the place. And number three is also very easy. It's Sydney Powell. She's kind of all over the place and very distinctive in her actions. Number two is Eastman, John Eastman, who is probably not as well known because he's not as flamboyant and like media hungry as either Giuliani or Powell. But he's the one who kind of came up with the whole justification for the fake electors thing. So he's very crucially important, but surprisingly not mentioned as much as I would have expected throughout the document. He's there, but he's not, a main character running throughout because really he was focused on this one, segment of it, the fake electors thing. The document is also organized by state, and so there'll be some clumping there. I'll try to give a little context for who people are if they're not somebody that you would know. So let's get into it. Okay, so we got our first three. And along with Giuliani, Eastman, Powell, I also was able to figure out that Trump attorney Jenna Ellis is P12. Jason DeGeneva is P10, and P11 is Victoria Tosing. I'm not sure I know that I'm pronouncing that correct. They're all Trump lawyers. P2 is either maybe Bill Stepien or Brad Pascal. It's a little bit unclear to me. I think P1 is probably Roger Stone, but I'm not entirely sure. It could be maybe like Steve Bannon or somebody like that. But those are the ones that I'm a little shaky on. Everything else, I'm gonna basically be telling you is people that I was able to confirm positively. Let's see here. P13 and P14, that's Jared and Ivanka. let's see here. P16, Doug Ducey, which governor of Arizona at the time. P18, Rusty Bowers, who was part of the Arizona legislature. And then also mentioned around the same time is P17, which is Governor Kemp from Georgia. P19 is another Trump lawyer, Christina Bobb. You may have heard of her. She's gotten in a little bit of trouble since then. Let's see here. P26 is a Christopher Carr, which is another Georgia official. P27 and 28 were the current Georgia senators at the time, Perdue and Loeffler. 29 and P29 and P30 are Shea Moss and Ruby Freeman, who American heroes. Love those ladies. Just have to throw that in there because their lives were completely destroyed because they decided to step up and try to help with an election and do their duty to their country and county and everything, and it's kind of sad. Anyway, Brad Raffensperger, who Secretary of State of Georgia, is P33, and his lawyer Ryan Germany is P35. P36 or 34 is Jeff Duncan, which I believe is another governor. I'm not 100%. I don't know. P37 and P38 are both Michigan legislature people. There, one was the Senate Majority Leader. One is the House Speaker, Mike Shirkey and Lee Chatfield, respectively. P39, Ronna McDaniels. Ronna Romney McDaniels, but, whatever. Let's see. P46 is Lawrence Taubes, chair of the Pennsylvania RNC. This is how kind of deep cut we're getting here, right? And then P47, similarly, is Philadelphia City Commissioner Al Schmidt. Let's see. There's only a few left I was able to get, and they're all, actually, most of them pretty interesting, so stick with me here. P48 is Bernie Carrick, he's a Trump crony. P49 is Brian Hagedorn, a Wisconsin Supreme Court justice who was like the swing vote, and Trump literally ruined his life. I hadn't heard his story before I started researching this, and boy, is that, yeah. P50 is former cybersecurity director Brian oh, wait, no. Well, that's not the right name. I pasted the wrong name in there, but it was former CISA director. Whoops, my bad. Now, this one's really interesting. P51 is Tucker Carlson. That's right. The Tuxin. He's in here. Not that many times. And to be very clear, he's not accused of doing anything wrong. It's just they talk about segments that he had, not accused of anything criminal. We'll go with that. And then the last one I was able to identify was P52, which is Bill Barr. Former Attorney General, the one who very famously told Trump that he believed that his election lie or corruption lies were bullshit and all that. And yeah. Now, the one thing that's very interesting about that is there were several numbers that I could not find throughout the document. I don't know if that's because of redactions, like sections that maybe were redacted or if I just overlooked them, but it was multiple numbers. So I somehow think that there's probably more redacted information there, which makes sense. You know, we do know that the document was highly redacted. Um, but uh, it's a pretty compelling document. It kind of reads almost like a spy thriller a little bit, you know. But I bet you could really make a good fictional story out of this. It would be pretty entertaining if it wasn't so consequential, right? But yeah, that's what we got. I encourage you to read it, and you know, maybe if now that you know who some of the people are, that might make it an easier read for you too. I know that it was released by the judge, Judge Tanya Chutkan, pretty late in the day. And so I don't know how much time like news organizations are going to have tonight to really go through it before they would do like their normal news broadcasts and whatnot. And so we may not hear a whole lot about what's in the document, like from an analysis perspective until tomorrow or in the coming days, because there's a lot there, honestly. And I was kind of really keeping a close eye for this one because I follow a former federal prosecutor who is currently an MSNBC contributor and podcaster and all that. His name is Glenn Kirshner. He has a YouTube channel. You know, all of his content's free, not sponsored even, which is kind of nice. I definitely recommend listening to him. I mean, obviously, he's got a very prosecutorial mindset, you know, like he looks at the things the way that you would expect a federal prosecutor to look at things in a lot of ways, but I think he's generally a fairly fair-minded person, and he has been giving me a lot of insight on the legal side of things. And one thing that's really great about him is he has the MSNBC press pass, so he actually gets to go in and sit in court hearings in Washington for this case, which, you know, I mean, I'm not saying that's all the time he gets to do it, but he's done it a lot. So a lot of times he's the one who, you know, like news organizations are turning to get their firsthand information so they can report it on. So you can just skip a step and just get it straight from him, right? That's kind of neat. Um, I definitely encourage you to follow multiple lawyers who follow this if you're interested in this case at all, because it's really good to get perspective from a legal side of things. You know, we so often kind of look at it from a court of public opinion, and this is a court case, and that's different. You know, what flies in the court of public opinion is not going to fly in the court, and sometimes vice versa, right? And so having that insight, I think, has been very helpful to me. So I can't recommend enough that, you know, if not him, somebody, you know, following some lawyers to get some perspective on this. I like to follow, you know, a whole broad range of people. I listen to political pundits, you know, professional political pundits. I listen to people who worked, you know, with the politicians. So, you know, like policy people and people who are former staffers and things like that. You know, you want to get just average everyday people who are informed and they're on different parts of the spectrum of, you know, political belief, like left to right or whatever. You know, we don't really have a whole lot of thoughtful, you know, like really normal conservative voices out there. We have like these extremists, but, you know, honestly, if you find very moderate Democrats and listen to their voices, you're pretty much going to get the soft right perspective on things. And then, you know, you can get sort of a moderate leftist reading online. what you see basically in the news is sort of a little on the conservative side. And to a certain extent, that makes sense because, you know, we're talking about corporate media, and corporate media is never going to be able to really embrace any sort of like leftist views, right? I mean, their incentive structure is just not set up for that. So I highly recommend reading this document. I highly recommend um, you know, diversify how you're getting information about what's going on in this election and all the various wars around the world and all the horrible stuff that's going on that's really depressing. And wow, that's a great note to end on, right? Ah, geez. Yeah, well, uh, hopefully that was useful to you, and let me see if I can get one thing here. Oh, big mean man boy. Big mean man boy, right? Isn't that right? Aren't you a big mean man boy? Say goodbye, Casey.